Dear friends, today we are celebrating the solemnity of St. John Bosco, and we have some insights and reflections from the whole life of Don Bosco or St. John Bosco. Don Bosco was born on 16th of August in 1815 in a village called Vecchi in northern Italy from a family of farmers. Imagine, Don Bosco came from a simple, humble family of farmers. Imagine, from the village, Don Bosco reaches the world and he influences the world. This teaches us that no situation can block us from dreaming and doing good to all and reaching out with goodness to the rest of the world. After the death of his father Francesco, his mother Margherita raised him with the entire family with great difficulty. Imagine Mama Margaret is able to raise Don Bosco and the whole family, playing the role of a father and a mother at the same time. It was not easy, and he raises them. She was like a father and a mother at the same time raising these children. But imagine these children also living without a father. It was not easy, but Don Bosco knew how to handle this situation because he learned it from Mama Margaret, and he allowed himself to learn how to face the situation as it is. And his mother Margaret taught Don Bosco how to work hard. And this is what we Salesians are invited to work hard, spending our life every moment with the young people and with all people into making the world a better place with goodness. So the mother Margaret taught Don Bosco how to work hard and how to recognize God in the life's fortunes and misfortunes, in good times and in challenging or bad times. Dear friends, Don Bosco, in all this family context, which was not easy, with a lot of hard work, the loss of the father, and many other family challenges there, the misunderstandings even between him and Anthony, his brother, the elder brother, who was always on his neck. With all these things, Don Bosco was able to find God working in all these good and at the same time challenging situations. And for John Bosco, to pray meant to speak with God. And that's why Don Bosco, every moment, he spoke with God, heart to heart. Even when he was working, he spoke with God on his knees, on the kitchen pavements. He spoke with God in the garden, in the classroom, in the playground. Everywhere, Don Bosco spoke to God. So he speaks with God, Don Bosco. At the same time, he thinks of God. His mind is on God. His words are of God and the wonders that God does. So he thinks of God. He speaks with God. At the same time, he thinks of God while seated on the grass in the garden or elsewhere, gazing in the heavens. So his feet were on the ground, but his mind and heart was with God. And from God, he would get strength to know how to handle what is happening on earth. And from on earth, when things are not easy and not going on well, he would raise his mind and heart and present all these difficulties back to God. In that case, he was always in union with God. In that way, he knew how to handle situations. Dear friends, in our way of acting, even as educators or parents or students, sometimes there are moments when we may not know how to go about them. And that's why the Lord invites us, let's pour out everything to Him. Let's connect with Him to know how to handle situations. And let's present all these situations to Him. And let us open our heart to know how to react and respond to these situations that we meet. Do we speak to God? Like one who speaks to a father, to a friend whom I can't hide anything, a father who knows everything. Do we speak to God? Do we raise our minds, our hearts, our joys, our worries, our fears, our anxieties, our dreams, and our every action up to the powerful God who is also our master of everything, as Don Bosco did? Do we raise it? Do we raise our everything to God as Don Bosco did? Or we pretend to focus only on our limited strength? Dear friends, all of us have dreams and visions to inspire us and to look forward to. What is your dream? What is my dream? What is your vision? What is your aim? What is your mission? What are you up to in life? What are your plans? Do you have any project in life? A project of life. What do we want to do with our lives? Do we just live the life like that and we don't know what to do? Do we just blow like a wind? No. Or we take up life and we want to give it an orientation that my life, I want to take my life in this direction to help God's people or to do this, to be a presence of God to all, to do good to all. But how do I do good to all? John Bosco, for example, when he was 9 years old, he had a dream. Do we have dreams? He had a dream and he transformed that dream into reality. Do we have dreams? What is your dream? What's your aim in life? He saw a crowd of very many poor boys playing in the field and were insulting, blaspheming, using bad, horrible words, abusing each other and fighting with each other. And still in a dream, John Bosco started shouting back. So he had people who were abusing and he shouted back. And even somehow like punishing those who were misbehaving. That's what Don Bosco knew. And he couldn't hide that. But a man of majestic appearance, he said to be Jesus Christ, the good shepherd who takes care of the sheep. The man, Jesus Christ, appeared and told him, you will have to win these friends of yours, those stubborn boys, these friends of yours, not with blows or fighting back, but with gentleness and love and kindness. We win the hearts of those stubborn boys with kindness and with gentleness, not by fighting back. Sometimes when we are hurt, it's very easy to throw back a very strong word to the other person that we may even end up regretting. Here we see this majestic appearance of Jesus Christ, who is the good shepherd, who appears in that majestic man who appears, telling that no, it's not about throwing a negative with a negative, that will worsen the situation. Throwing a stone with a stone, that will worsen the situation. It's about responding to evil with goodness. Responding with love and gentleness. People expect you to respond back and throw back another fire, to shoot back. You cool down and you just say, Lord, help me to cool down. I feel like I want to give back. I feel like I want to give back, but help me to cool down myself because it's not easy. And that's what we have to ask the Lord, to help us to know how to cool down when we are tempted to throw back, because sometimes we may throw back and worsen the situation. So we see that you will have to win these friends of yours, these stubborn friends, the sweet children of yours, not with blows or fighting back, but with gentleness and love. When there is fire, you cannot put fire again. That will worsen the situation. You have to find other ways to cool down the fire. And so this is what we hear. And we hear also of a lady who is said to be Mother Mary, just as majestic, she added, this is your field. She was telling John Bosco. So Jesus had already spoken to Saint John Bosco, and saying that you will win your friends not with blows but with loving kindness and gentleness. And we see Mother Mary appearing, and he says, this will be your field, meaning the field of the spirit children, those stubborn fellows, those uncontrollable, abusive fellows will be your field where you must work from. And this is where we Salesians work from, with the needy, poor, and disadvantaged young people. Sometimes our field extends. First of all, it's the poor and needy and the very vulnerable young people. But our need, we know that young people, even if they are rich, they are very poor materially, morally, in all aspects. So our mission is for the young, especially the poor and abandoned and needy, stubborn young people. This is what the mother points out, that our field as Salesians is that field of the poor, abandoned young people. And he pointed out John Bosco. So we see John Bosco was just more than a dreamer. He knew that education was the key to helping young people. You want to help young people? You have to educate them, their mind and their heart and their whole self. You have to educate them. If you don't educate them, then they will continue in their stubbornness of heart. They continue doing wrong. That education, Don Bosco knew that education is a matter of conquering the heart. Don Bosco developed certain skills combining entertainment, games, fun, joy with preaching and praying in order to win over the hearts of the hearts to what is good and godly. So, for Don Bosco used games in order to win hearts to God and to whatever is good. Don Bosco used to play in order to help the young people to pray. He used to make fun and make jokes in order to attract people to understand and express their heart, ready to receive goodness, the good news, the moral teachings, as well as the spiritual teachings, as well as the good news. So for the children, we see that his education and evangelization started from acknowledging that what young people like most and building on that. Don Bosco was educating, and as was educating, pulling out the good things in the young person. He was evangelizing because he was pulling out the good things in the young person. At the same time, he was evangelizing and spreading good news. So our style as Salesians is when we are educating, we are already evangelizing and spreading good news, even when we are teaching and educating the young and everyone. And at the same time, when we are evangelizing or spreading good news, we are already educating. So we see combining with games, acrobatics, music skills, the young people would easily or willingly listen to John Bosco's advice and good words. And like this, their lives and their hearts were already open and disposed and ready to also enjoy praying in a simple way with Don Bosco. So games were a way to create the ground for union with God in prayer. All the games, all the sports, all the music was a way to create the ground of the heart to the relationship between God and the young people, and also the relationship between the young people themselves. So games were a moment of encounter, so as to encounter God, of encountering each other in order to encounter God. And Don Bosco was not only helping and educating the poor, marginalized, disadvantaged young people, but he was also journeying with them day and night towards heaven. He was journeying, and we Salesians, we journey with the young. That's why we talk of presence. It's a sacramental presence. It's a presence that reveals the presence of God in all the Salesians and in all the young people. So we are present in the lives of the young people in order to encourage them to see what is good and to tell them that is good. And we are present at the same time to say that is not good. And in order to say this is good and not good, we have to be present. We have to journey with the young people. But we say this is good 100 times, and we say this is not good only once. So we should encourage more on what is good than always saying this is not good, this is not good, because the young person will say, excuse me, do you think everything about me is not good? So we see that he was journeying with them day and night towards heaven, towards the experience with God and with each other. The aim of Don Bosco was to journey with the young people towards the experience of God, to experience the majestic appearance of God in our lives and the lives of others, and also to come together as human beings, because God is also present and working through us, through the young people themselves. And by educating the young people, he evangelized them. And at the same time, by evangelizing, he educated them. And that's why we see the motto or the program, the life program of St. John Bosco was, give me souls. Give me the hearts of the young people, because the heart is the whole person in the Semitic language. Give me the heart, give me the soul, and take the rest away. That was the life program of St. John Bosco. That's why he was using every material means in order to help the young people rediscover the spiritual relationship with God. Following the advice of his spiritual guide, Don Bosco went to the city of Turin in Italy and saw the miserable, painful, poor living standards of the workers and the young people at that time, aimlessly wandering around through the streets. They were unemployed in Turin. They were abandoned. They were living in the hopeless, vulnerable situations, and they were exposed to every form of crime and evil and immorality and bad habits, these young people, because they didn't have work. They didn't have, some of them didn't have even families. They didn't have even their parents, and they didn't have even, they were just abandoned on the streets. And his encounter with the juvenile, the young prisoners in the prison and delinquents, made him do all he could. He allowed his heart to be moved. He met these young people and he was moved. Do we allow ourselves to be moved when we meet situations of people who need our help? Or we close our hearts? Don Bosco allowed himself to be moved by what he was seeing among the poor, vulnerable young people on the streets. And his encounter with these young prisoners made him to do all he could within his power to prevent the youth from getting into the tragic situations and to find new methods to contact and make friends with the youth on the streets. So he was present and he saw this and he saw, what can I do to help these young people not end up in prison? Many of them are ending in the streets and learning vulgar language. You know, when you find some of these young children, I was in Nairobi and I met some of the young children, very young, even as 5 years, but the language they speak is of an adult. So they learned a lot of things, bad habits on how to snatch things, to steal, to use this. So we see Don Bosco will sing all these things and say, what can I do to help these young people not to end up in prison? Because when they steal, they were taken in prison. When they kill, because some of them don't have problems to kill, because maybe they have gone through a very horrible, tragic experience. And that's why Don Bosco was asking, so what can I do? Don Bosco's work grew in Turin, Italy, and throughout the world. Imagine, because he allowed his heart to be moved with these street children, this is work of working with the young people and providing the future and helping them in the holistic formation of body, mind, heart, and soul to make them good Christians and honest citizens. The Christians, to make them not only Christians but good Christians, and the rest of the people who are not Christians, but including the Christians, also to make them honest citizens. So we see his work was so beautiful that it reached the rest of the world, and today we are in over 135 countries of the world where Salesians are now working, and many youth became his followers. We see many youth became his followers, including me. I'm a son of Don Bosco, and I thank God for having met Don Bosco to be able to offer something to the young people and to all the people that are around me within the congregation of the Society of St. Francis de Sales, Salesians of Don Bosco, which was formed in 1859 with the joyful and optimistic spirituality or way of life. Our way of life as Salesians is joyful, is optimistic, not pessimistic, not sad. It's joyful because we have already enough sadness in the world. We don't want to add more onto that. Our mission is to create joy, hope, and optimism even where there is sadness. And so we see that with the joyful and optimistic spirituality or way of life of St. Francis of de Sales, who said, you can catch more flies with a spoonful of honey than with a barrel or bucket full of vinegar. He's emphasizing the sweetness of our life. We are called to be sweet, dear friends. To be sweet in the families. To be sweet, the wives to be sweet to their husbands. Husbands to be sweet to their wives. Parents to be sweet to their children. Children to be sweet to their parents. Educators to be sweet to their students. Students to be sweet to their educators. Friends to be sweet to each other. That sweetness which is also goodness. There's a lot of bitterness today. Let's not be the ambassadors of bitterness. Let our work be people who spread sweetness, who don't complicate the lives of others. And so we're implying this expression that you can catch more flies with a small spoon of honey than with a barrel bucket of vinegar, implying that we attract young people, or we attract all people with our simple, great gestures of sweetness. We attract more people with our simple acts of tenderness. With our love, we attract people. With our sweetness and goodness, we attract people. With our simple good words and actions, we attract people. With the quality of our good, positive example of life, we attract people. Quality. Rather than with many empty, noisy words and actions, or with the poor quality of negative example of life. So my question here would be, am I a sweet person for others? Or others see in me only bitterness? That when I open my mouth, it's all bitterness. When I do actions, it's all bitterness. We are called to be sweet in today's world, to help people enjoy the sweetness of God, because life is already heavy. Let's not make it even heavy anymore. So this joyful, optimistic, loving, sweet spirituality or way of life of St. Francis de Sales attracted John Bosco to choose him as a patron of the Salesian congregation. And so we see that the source of his untiring activity, where was he getting the strength to continue in his activity? The source of his fruitfulness, to be fruitful, because apart from me, you can do nothing, says the Lord himself. So we have to be rooted on the Lord in order to do something, in order to be fruitful. So the source of his untiring activity and his fruit, to be fruitful, how he was fruitful in his work, was in his constant union of mind and heart with God. He was constantly in union with mind and heart with God, telling God what was happening, reporting to God what is happening on earth, thanking him if they are going on well, and also asking for help from him if things are not going on well. And so we see that the source was with this constant union with God of mind and heart through prayer, and with his deep confidence in Mother Mary's support and inspiration, which is evident in the words, "I have done nothing by myself," says St. John Bosco. It is Our Lady, of course, through the Lord Jesus Christ, who has done everything. We see this when he built the Basilica of Mary, Help of Christians. He didn't, in Turin, one of the beautiful, great place of worshiping God. Basilica of Mary, Help of Christians. He didn't have even a coin. And you would see people, benefactors, coming left and right when they heard about the good works that he was doing and offering something. Difference when we do good, people come in to support us in doing good work. So he didn't have anything in his hands. For example, in building the Basilica of Mary, he catered the needs of the poor youth where there's no food. He didn't have anything. With benefactors coming at the right time, he didn't have anything. Don Bosco did not have anything of his money. Actually, do you know what happens? Sometimes the number of the children was increasing, and Don Bosco was there only with Mama Margaret. And Mama Margaret said, Don Bosco, where are we going to get our money for this? There's no food. There's no. The children are coming, and they are all stubborn, and they're jumping in people's gardens. Like it would happen. And Don Bosco looked at Mama Mary, at the Mother Margaret, with a smile, and just did like this. He pointed at the cross. Margaret was with her bag, ready to move away. Said, no, if Don Bosco, this is the way things are. How can you work things here and there's no money? So she was ready with her bag to go. And Don Bosco just pointed in the cross. And that reminded Mother Mary, said, oh yes, now the sacrifice of Jesus. Jesus sacrificed for all of us so that we can have new life. It's like saying, can't I, Mama Margaret, also sacrifice for the children so they can have life? These people, children who don't have their parents, who are also homeless, can't I give a hope to them? This is the question to you and me, my brother and my sister. Can't I be the reason why another person can live a good life? Mama Margaret, when Don Bosco pointed at the cross and saw how Jesus was ready to even be humiliated, even to be naked like this, in order that you and me can have life, we who had merited death, so that we can have life, and he has sacrificed himself. And this was like saying, can't I offer some sacrifice to the Lord? Sometimes when we're going through pains, even sacrificing things we don't understand, we have to offer it to the Lord and say, Lord, take care. I offer you these pains because you went through even heavier pains than this. Bless these pains. And this was from then onwards. Mama Margaret came out, removed the things which she had packed, ran away. And he was with Don Bosco, a great support throughout his mission, and benefactors came in to help. Some people would say, you are Don Bosco? Okay, here is something for your boys. Here, Don Bosco, the benefactors. And that's why our Salesian family consists of many, many people of goodwill. So it was under Mother Mary's guidance that Don Bosco began his first oratory. Imagine he starts with Hail Mary. It was under Mother Mary that he started the trade school, the technical school, the orphanage, the Salesian family in 1871, and the Daughters of Mary, Help of Christians, the Salesian sisters, to assist the young girls. And this is because we, the Salesian of Don Bosco, work with the young boys who are poor and abandoned, and the Salesian sisters through Mother Mary Domenica Mazzarello. The Salesian sisters were formed together with Don Bosco, and in 1874, the Salesian cooperators who are lay people who would work for the young without belonging to any religious order, all following the Salesian preventive system of reason, religion, and loving kindness. The Salesian cooperators are like, for example, one could be a doctor and a Salesian cooperator, meaning in the hospital, he applies reason, religion, and loving kindness. He applies the preventive system. He applies that gentleness, that love, that optimism in dealing with the patients. One can be a Salesian of them, can belong to the Salesian family as a cooperator when he's maybe working in the school, maybe he's working in the garden, maybe he's working in the industry. Wherever anybody is working, even as a caregiver or any other section, he can be a Salesian cooperator. A cooperator is one who collaborates indirectly and directly in promoting the mission of Don Bosco, and also who employs Don Bosco's spirit of reason, religion, and loving kindness. The reason, because when we deal with the young people, they want to know why we do things the way we do things. And we have to tell them, okay, young people, sit down, let us see. We are saying this because ABCD. If you touch here, it will burn you. Okay. We help them to see things as they are. And this preventive system can apply even in our families, between husband and wife, that we put things on the table and we use reason. We are saying this not because I just want to say things, but because there is a reason. And this is the reason. We want the best for you. This is the reason. Then the religion, which is a aspect of the heart, that whatever I do is good before God and before human persons. And loving kindness. That's the most important aspect we keep in mind for all the Salesian family, and especially in this case, Salesian cooperators. And Don Bosco was an educational practitioner. He was a man of action, not only theory. He believed that education is a matter of the heart. And he said, it is not enough to love the youth, meaning to just simply tell them I love you, or mere words that I love you. That's not enough. It's not enough to love the youth. The youth must feel, must be loved, and must know that they are loved. They must feel, they must experience that they are loved, because love is more of an action. I speak about it because I do it, because actions speak louder than words. Husbands, it's not enough to love your wives. Or wives, it's not enough to love your husbands. They must feel, they must know. They must experience that they are loved. That I don't need many words to say that I love you. There are some people, they don't say that I love you, but in action they really show you that they love you. There are some people, they say that I love you, but in action, they ignore you. They don't even show you that they love you. And so we see parents should show their love to their children. It's not enough to tell the children that I love you. The children must feel that the parents love us. This doesn't mean that we should not correct them. Of course, we should correct them too. But they must feel that they are loved. The children are loved. And the children should also make their parents feel that they are loved as well. Teachers, friends, it's not enough to love the others. The other person must feel that we are loved. We don't need to use many words that I love you, but what is more important is the action that tell the other that I'm there for you, and this love is from God. It's a pure love. It's a good love. It's a love that wishes the best for you. And I don't need to speak much about it. I need only to live it in action. Don Bosco had a preventive education system that rejected the corporal punishments, and it places the youth in a good, positive family environment, far from committing sin, and educating the whole person of body, mind, heart, and soul. So Don Bosco believed that in order to educate young people, we have to create a good environment, an environment that encourages more, that speaks well of others, encourage an environment that does good to others, not the environment that discourages, not the environment that always bad, or environment that always points out the negatives of the others. No, it's an environment that is positive, not an environment that is negative. And I've seen this when I was in Turin, in Aldocco, whereby you enter that first order of Don Bosco and you feel at home. Many stubborn Muslim children used to come over, and they come in within 1 week. They are into the system there. They feel at home because the children themselves will even correct you if you are coming there. Say, no, here we don't speak bad language. Here we make friends. In the Don Bosco house, we make friends, good friends. We build each other up. We don't pull each other down. We encourage each other. We support each other. We journey together as a family of brothers and sisters and of friends. And Don Bosco was a restless and passionate. He was on fire. He was a passionate father who dedicated his entire life for the young people, especially when he said to himself, and now St. John Bosco continued to say to all the Salesians and Salesian family when he says, I have promised God that until my last breath, I shall have lived for my poor young people. For you I study, Don Bosco would say. For you I work. For you I'm ready to give my life for you, to do everything good so that you young people can live, so that you people of God can live a good life. I'm ready to sacrifice just as Jesus sacrificed. And Don Bosco continues, take note that whatever I am, I have been so entirely for you young people, day and night, morning and evening, at every moment I was for you, says St. John Bosco. And once difference, when Don Bosco's prayer was interrupted by the visit of a wealthy and rich noble who wanted to help his poor children with some little contribution, Don Bosco excused himself for being late because he was late. Being late, saying, my dear sir, he was saying to the wealthy person, my dear sir, you are a good friend of mine, but God comes first. So Don Bosco was late because he was attending first to God, speaking to God and praying that God can intervene in his situation, in his mission of working with the young people. But he also comes with all respect. He says, my dear sir, you are a good friend of mine. You, the benefactor who has come, you're a good friend of mine. But God comes first. So different. How many times do we put God first? Or we just do things like that instead of putting God first? Don Bosco usually put God first, but also he was respectful of the rest. And this is why we hear that seek first the kingdom of God, and the rest will follow in line. When we put God first, things work out. When we put God first, things flow. Things flow. Even when they may not flow according to our way, they flow. Because we feel we are not alone, and he's guiding every situation, even those which we are not going on according to what we think. So do we put God first in everything we do? Or we put him last and we first do, and God go aside? No, Don Bosco was always in union, mind and heart and work with the Father. He was always updating the Father always. And so we end with some sayings of Don Bosco. And when he says, whatever you do, think of the glory of God as your main goal. What we are doing, dear friends, in everything that we do, we should give glory to God. Of course, people will thank us, but the glory will go to God, who has enabled everything that we have been able to do, if it's good. And so John Bosco continues to say, run, jump, but do not sin. Meaning, enjoy yourself as much as you like, because the Father wants his children to be happy. Enjoy yourself as much as you like, if only you keep away from sin and whatever is negative. I can't say I'm enjoying when I'm involving in what is negative. No. Enjoy, but keep away from what is negative and what is sin. Then Don Bosco says that my desire is to see you happy in this world and in the next. It's not to say that, now I suffer a lot here in this world, and then in the next one I will rejoice. No, Don Bosco says, already in this world, when we are at peace with God and with each other, when we reconcile, when we ask for forgiveness, when we respect others, when we love each other, already in this earth, we already experiencing heaven on earth here already. So the desire of Don Bosco was that we should be happy already here, right now, in this world and in the next. Then we see that do not try to excuse your faults. Try to correct them. Yes, we have to be sincere that sometimes we may not be perfect. We are all moving towards perfection. So we have to be humble enough to acknowledge our weaknesses in order to ask for forgiveness and confession, in order to regain that moment of grace, of favors, of blessings, and to continue being a blessing to others. We see Don Bosco continue saying that health is God's great gift, and we must spend it entirely on Him. The Lord gave us many gifts, including our health. We have to spend it entirely back to God through serving our brothers and sisters without counting the cost. Then Don Bosco says our eyes should see only for God. Our feet should walk only for Him, doing good. I should see God who is present in my brother and my sister. And our feet should walk where my brother and my sister needs great help, and where I can share good news with my brother and my sister. Our hands labor for the Lord alone, but we labor through the service that we offer to our brothers and sisters. And in short, our entire body should serve God while we still have time. Then when He shall take our health and we shall near our last day, our conscience will not reproach us for having misused it. In other words, Don Bosco invites us here by saying, let us grow gracefully. How many people, all the people I've met, and they're so happy. There's one mama in Italy, she calls Mama Anna. She's 86 or 87 years old. She has gone through horrible problems and she has tubes everywhere. But she says, me, I don't hold any grudge to anybody. She was mistreated by many people. She said, I don't have hold any grudge. I forgave everybody, including my husband, who mistreated me. I don't hold anything. For me, I'm happy as I am. And so we see that she grows gracefully. She looks back with the many good things she was able to do, and she thanks God for all who enabled her to do those good things. And those are the reason for moving ahead. Instead of looking back with regret, oh, I could have done that, I could have done that, I could have done that. That's why the Lord says, do good as long as you have time. And the principal trap that the devil sets for young people is idleness. When we are idle, then that's a big trap. A lazy mind is the devil's toy, or it's the workshop of the devil. An idle mind is the devil's workshop. Then we hear another expression that fly from bad companions as from the bite of a poisonous snake. Bad companions are like a poisonous snake that poison us and we poison others. The bad companions, for the time being, though we may have to help everyone, but there are times when we realize that we don't have strength for the time being to really handle these bad companions. So in that case, we have to fly away in order to look for the right time to come and maybe help them. But we have to fly away, because if we don't fly away, we shall be contaminated by their badness and negativity. And then we hear, do good while you still have time. Do we do good when we still have time? Do good to all and do not harm anyone. Do our words and actions harm others? Or we do the best we can, when possible, to do good to all. Do not live for tomorrow the good you can do today. There may be no tomorrow for you. So whatever I'm able to do today, the Lord says, do it. And St. John Bosco is inspired by that. He says, tolerate the imperfections of others if you want others to tolerate your own imperfections. Many times it's clear that we are imperfect. We are all working towards perfection. So we are invited to understand that others are also journeying. They are struggling, they are striving, they are trying the best they can. So we have to understand them and accompany them and teach them and help them to overcome their imperfections, if we want them to also understand what we are working on and to tolerate us and accept us as we are. Without trust or love, there can be no good education. A good education that touches the heart has to be expressed with trust. I trust in the educator, I trust in my friend, and that I open up in order to be helped. If you want to be loved, you must love yourselves, because you cannot give what you don't have. Among you young people, I feel at home, says Don Bosco. This is we Salesians, we feel at home when we are with young people. We must make good Christians and honest citizens. This is our mission, to make the Christians, not only Christians, but good Christians, and to make the Christian and others honest citizens. Always be cheerful, but let your smile be sincere from the heart. And the sweetness in speaking, acting, and rebuking wins everything and everyone. When we are sweet to people in our way of speaking and doing things, we win the hearts to what is goodness. When we are bitter, we keep people away from us. For the young, we must be willing to endure anything against time and fatigue. We have to offer everything for the young, our health, for the good of the young. And as loving parents, educators, and as friends, always correct young people and each other with kindness. Walk with your feet on earth and with your heart in heaven and your mind in heaven. And you see, we hear Don Bosco say, God sees you and let nothing disturb you. Whoever has God has everything. When we have God in our hearts, we have everything because He's the originator of everything. And John Bosco, dear friends, died on 31st January in 1888, and on 1st April 1934, Pope Pius the 11th declared Don Bosco a saint, calling him a giant of sanctity. St. John Bosco is a patron saint of young people. He's a patron saint of editors because he used also to write. He's a patron saint of educators, magicians. St. John Bosco, pray for us, for our families, for our schools, institutions, and most especially for all young people in the world and for all God's people. God bless you, dear friends, and happy feast of St. John Bosco as we pray for each other. Thank you.